This is the 14 of 100 days of design. The exercise for today is countdown timer. I have gotten some pictures of icons that I'm going to use in these designs. So we are asked to design just single screen, so I'm designing like two more screens, the counter screen and stopwatch screen. So without much ado, I'm going to copy these icons aside. In our previous design, we've been using mobile screen, desktop screen, and also tablet screen. For this design, we'll be using Apple Watch screen. So I'm going to create a frame just like this. I'll go to frame at the property panel here, and I'll choose Apple Watch 45 mm. So my screen is resized. I'm going to rename this screen to countdown. And before I move on, I want to create a layout for this. I'm going to add layout grid. So change it to column. I want to make it 6 count. The margin of 16 pixels and the gutter of 8 pixels. Just like this, so that this will guide me on placing items on it. So I'm going to give this frame a black background from the color we've been using in previous design. I need a title for this screen, so I'm going to put it inside here, and I'll say countdown timer. So this is 12 pixel bold. It's okay. The top is going to be 16 pixel margin. And also from this side, I want to add a menu icon here. So instead of directly the icon, I'm going to create the icon using these circles. I'm going to use 3 circles to create it. So these circles are going to be 6 pixels, and I'm going to give it auto layout. And the auto layout is going to have 8 pixels by both sides. I'm going to move this right here. This has to move back a little bit. So this should be vertically aligned, just like this. And again, this should be 16 pixels. So this should come up. Now I want to design the digit screens. So I'm going to use a circle just like this. And the circle, I want to make it 142 pixels from both sides. And from this is going to be 8 pixels. Now I want to duplicate these screens. I'll press Ctrl D and reduce it to 122 pixels. And this is going to have a black color, which is this. I'm also going to bring it down here. Also, I need a progress bar, which is going to be in form of circle. I'm going to copy this aside, just as we have it, and I'll give it a stroke. I'll remove the color. All I need is just the stroke. And again, I'm going to edit mode of this object. I want to add nodes to this and another node here. So the middle node here, I want to delete it. So this is what I want to have. I'm going to bring this also in here, and I'll select everything, the 3 that we have there, and align them both vertically and horizontally center. We'll need to move this down a little bit. So this is what we have. I'm going to hide the grid. So the white background here, I'm going to reduce that to 10% opacity, and the black of the outline, we're going to be using our blue color, which is this. So I want to put text inside here. I'm going to say 04 full colon I'll call this one 43, just as we have it. So I want to make sure everything I have here, this text, are going to be 24 pixels. This is going to be and this. I want to add auto layout, shift A to this and place it to center here. So from this text I want to add H to it, and this I want to add M to it. So this H, I'm going to reduce the boldness to regular, and M also I'm going to reduce it to regular. Why this is not changing from uppercase is because I have set this something here, the text property, I have set it here to be uppercase. I'm going to take it back to lowercase so that I have it like this, and the space between these I'm going to reduce this to 2 pixels. So I'll make sure this sits in the center of this, and again I will need a second here, a second, so this will be S. So if you have 4 hours 43 minutes, you can have something like 21 seconds. I'm going to align this to center, this come a little bit here. So this is what we have here. What remains here is the buttons we're going to have. So we're going to create all these buttons from here. First of all, I want to have a setting button whereby we can tap and set our time. So I'm going to create a circle just like this, and again I'm going to use a rectangle just like this. So I'll make sure the rectangle and the circle are vertically centered and horizontally centered. So I want to duplicate this by doing Ctrl D, and I'll rotate the duplicate just like this, 90 degrees. And again I'm going to select these two together, Command D again to duplicate, and I'll hold down my shift and rotate this just like this. I'm going to select everything together and I'm going to union them. After union, I'll press Ctrl E on my keyboard so that it becomes a single object. And again, since I'm designing a settings, I'll need a circle here to punch a hole here. So I'm going to draw a circle. Let's change the color of the circle to another color. I'm going to align these two both to vertical and horizontally center, and again look at it. So I'm going to increase this by pressing down Alt and Shift on the keyboard so that it scales evenly. So I'm going to reduce this to 36 pixels. So I'll need to align them vertical and horizontally center back. And again, after doing that, I'm going to select the two by highlighting on them like this and go to exclude selection. So I'm going to press exclude selection so that it punches hole in the icon, and I'm going to press Ctrl E again to make sure the object is a single object. So I want to add corner radius to this thing. I'm going to give it 2 pixels for corner radius. So the settings, something is done. I also want to have a pause button so that if we start countdown, so we should be able to pause it. So doing pause, I'm going to use a rectangle, and I'll create rectangle. The size of this thing is 72. I'm going to create a rectangle of 72 also. This 72, I'm going to divide this 72 by 2. The width, I'm going to divide it by 2. I'm going to say divided by 2. This is what we have. From the division, I'm going to minus 6 from it, minus 6. So this is what we have. So I'm going to create another copy of this, just as what we have here, and the space between them is going to be 12 pixels because we've deducted 6 from the 2. So this is what we're going to have. We have it like this. I'm going to group this, or I can come to union and union it together and press Ctrl E on keyboard or Command E on keyboard to make sure it's a single object. And again, I will need a reset button. So I'm going to create a circle. The circle is also going to be of 72 pixels, just like this. I'm going to give it a stroke and remove the inner color that we have. So this, I want to go to edit mode of this thing and create more nodes here and probably around this place. So I'm going to delete one of these nodes, let's say this, so that we have something like this. So this has to be a kind of arrow, So I'm going to change the head of this something to an arrow like this. I'm going to increase the thickness. So this is what we have for the reset button. So altogether of these things, I'm going to make sure the constraint for scaling is enabled. So I'm going to select all these things and scale them down. So this is what we have. The scaling is now 13 pixels. I'll need to increase it. I'm going to scale it up so that I have till I have 16 pixels. So I think this is okay. I want to create background for all these buttons. So I'm going to use a circle, or instead I'll use a frame. The frame is going to be 32 pixels like this, and I'm going to place each of these inside this frame to sit at the center of it, just like this. So I'm going to create for others too. I'm going to copy this command. Let me give it the color so that we can see it. We say command X, shift command R, command X, shift command R. So this we have to increase the thickness, because since we have, let's change the arrowhead to something nice. So we'll do this to 1, just like this. So this middle one here, I'm going to make sure this sits to the center, and again this one I'll increase it to 40 pixels, just like this. So if you look at this icon, I want to make them a round icon, so I'm going to check what is the size of 32. So for this one, which are 32 pixels, I'm going to select the two together and give them the corner radius of 32 pixels so that it goes round. And this one that is 40 pixels, I'm going to give it corner radius of 40 so that it also goes round. Now I want to enable the grid. I'll press Shift G on keyboard so that I can place this thing very well. So I'm going to place this, and I'll need this button at the middle here. I'm going to select these two. I'll make sure this one sits to the bottom and this sits to the bottom. I'm going to select the two and minus 12 pixels from Y, and this also I'm going to sit it down like this, and also minus 12 pixels from the Y. So this is what we have for the screen. So this is not yet done. We have to like make sure some buttons are primary while some are secondary. So I'm going to select these two together and even these three and distribute the space I have between them so that they have same spacing. So these two that are white, I'm going to select them, and their white is going to be 10%. And the colors we are having, which is black on the icons, I'm going to select the color and give it a white color. So for this primary button, I'm going to select it and give it a blue color, and the black we're having on it, we're going to turn it to a white color. So this is the first screen for the countdown timer. So we're going to create other screens. I'm going to duplicate this screen just like this. So for this screen, we'll call this one counter. So I'll make sure it sits in the middle. Now say counter, and again this counter is not going to have these screens, so we're going to use a different screen from this. So I'm going to create something like this, and with a corner radius of 8 pixels, and also we're going to fill it with our white color, which is this. And we need a font here, we need a text here. I'm going to copy this text here and give it a black color, just like this. So this is not going to be minutes or seconds. We're just going to have something that is counting while the user is pressing some buttons. So we're going to have two buttons here. In this center, we're going to have two buttons. So we have a button at the top here, and we have another button here, another button here. So this settings button is okay, and we have this other button also. The button we are going to have here, we're going to have an additional button and a subtract button. To create this, I'm going to copy this out, and I'm going to go to edit mode and delete one of these. So here I am. I'm going to create another copy from here and rotate this by 90 degree. So I'm going to combine this. So we have to give them same size. Let me delete this first. So I'm going to change the size of this thing. So the width is going to be 6 pixels and the height is 18 pixels already. So I'm going to copy this just like this and rotate this one by 90 degrees and combine the two, align them vertical and horizontally center. So this one makes a plus, and I'm going to copy this aside. So this is going to be minus, and I'll delete one of these. So I'm going to combine this and union them together and press Ctrl E so that they become one object. So I'm going to cut this Command X and put it here, Shift Command R to replace that. Make sure it sits vertically center and horizontally center. This also I'm going to cut this Command X and put it here, Shift Command R. So this is going to be vertically and horizontally center also. So this plus is going to be our primary key because for counter we mostly press the plus button. So I'm going to take this down to white color, and the white I have inside is going to be also white, which is what we have. And the background, I'm going to reduce background to 10% opacity. So we have plus and we have minus. So that is that for counter. So we're going to design the third screen, which is going to be a stopwatch screen. For stopwatch also, we're going to be using this same screen, and some icons here will change. So I'm going to select this icon and select this together, give them auto layout, then select this one and move it down. Then I'm going to select this and remove the auto layout, Shift Command G. So I'm going to delete this. I'm not going to need this anymore. So from here I'll need something like this. I want to design another button for this. So this, I'm going to take it back to 0 degrees and I'll create another copy of this. I'm going to increase the width of this just like this and go to edit mode. I'll create a node to the center here. After creating the node, I'm going to edit this edges node. I'm going to press down Shift on my keyboard and delete this. I'll press it down again, delete this, so that we have something like this. So I'm going to select the two together and give them corner radius of 2 pixels. 1 pixel is okay. I'm going to union them together. So I'll press this and I'll press Ctrl or Command E on the keyboard to have them like this. So I'm going to call this Command X and put it inside here, Shift Command R, and I'm going to make sure it sits at the center. So the width is 23 pixels, which is not okay. I'm going to reduce this to 20 pixels. So then align it to the center, just as we have it right here. So this is going to be a lap. So when that taps on it, it creates a lap from the stopwatch. So we're going to have some other buttons here also. Like this, we're going to change this button from setting because we don't need to set up anything before we initiate our stopwatch. So I'm going to create a stop button here. The stop button is going to be 14 pixels, and I'll make sure the corner radius is 2 pixels also. I'm going to cut this Command X and replace this one, Shift Command R. Then I'll make sure the color is white color, which is this. So reset also can be here to wipe up whatever we have inside this display box. For counter, we still need these settings so that we can input the time we want, then count down from there or count up from there. So for this is okay. We can always reset. This is going to be stopwatch. And I will need a text right here, right down here. So this is not going to be bold. I will read this to a regular text, and I'm going to call this one lap 1, and this is going to come here. So I want to put another text here. So this text will be aligned to the right, while this one here will be aligned to the left. So I'm going to select this and give this, for example, we can say 10. So I'm going to give them auto layout, Shift A. So the auto layout, I'm going to change it to from pack to space between, so that if I rename anything or I change any text here, this auto layout is still intact. So I'm going to give this the horizontal padding of 4 pixels and the vertical padding of 2 pixels. So we have a frame enclosed there, so I'm going to change the frame color to a white color, and the color is going to be reduced to 5% opacity, so that we have something like this that we are seeing. And also the text we are having inside should be a white color, and the white color will be reduced to 60% opacity, just like this. So this also should have a corner radius. I'm going to give it 4 pixels of corner radius, and I will copy this like this, and I'll auto layout them and give them 8 pixels spacing. This I will take this to, for example, 20 count, and this will be lap 2. If you have several laps here, user can always tap on lap to see other laps that we have in there. So there is another screen that I want to design also, which is going to be the menu screen. So whenever we tap on this menu, that screen opens. So let me rename this to counter, and I'll rename this to stop watch. So the other screen we're going to design, I'm going to bring this out here. This is going to be our menu. So I'm going to select everything I have inside, and I will delete them. So I want to draw a frame. The frame is going to be 72 pixels of height, and it's going to have our white also, just like this. So we want to have each of our menu items here. So I'm going to take this up like this, and I'll have another one right at the bottom, and I'll have another one in the middle, just as we have it here. So, and I'm going to take each of them down. They are going to have a white color, which is this, and I'm going to take them down to 10% opacity, just as this. And again, this is where we need our icon, but before that I want to put text in each of these. So I'm going to copy this text here. We have countdown timer, counter, and stopwatch. So I'm going to come here and give it a normal something. So if we have stopwatch, is going to be here. So counter is going to be here. And this is going to be countdown timer. Here is where the icon comes in. So these icons are in form of picture. I purposely want to use these icons so that we can learn more about things here. So these icons are in picture format, and I cannot change their color. I need an icon that I can change its color. I have a plugin installed here which is called Vectorize. So if I run Vectorize on each of these, it will convert them to vector object, which I can change their color. So I'm going to run this down. I'm going to press command on keyboard and press the / key, and then search for Vectorize. So this is Vectorize bitmap. I'm going to select it. So it has created the vector, and here is it. So I'm going to move it aside here, and I'll select the black inside. All the black, I'm going to select them and move them out of this group. I'm grouping them. So that is what we have, and here we'll have another circle that cuts this through. Going to make sure this sit at center. Select the two together and do exclude. So press Ctrl E on keyboard then give it a black. I'm going to select everything together like this and union them, and I'll press Ctrl E or Command E again. So I'm going to run this plugin on other icons also. So this also has been done. I'm going to ungroup this, Shift Command G, group everything, then delete this white. The white we have, I'm going to delete them, or I can go to exclude this, so that I have the select everything together, then do this, Command E. We're going to give it a black color. This is what we have, and this we're going to use this for the counter. I'm going to run the plugin again. So I'll do this slider to 2. Now save photo, and I'll click OK. So it has done that. I'm going to select it, press Command Shift Command G on keyboard to ungroup everything. So I don't need this outer one here. This is all I need. So this with this, I'm going to do extrude so that it cut through, and I'm going to do Command E to make sure they are combined. So what we're having here, we'll be having text which is 0, there's a 0 0 0 0. So I'm going to move that here, or let me just create one of them. I'll move it here. I'm going to create a copy just like this, and that copy here, and that copy here. I'm going to make sure this sits right in the center. So I'm going to select everything together and go to this place and say union. I'm going to press Command E on keyboard. So these are the 3 icons we're going to use for this. So I'm going to make sure I enable the constraint proportion here. It's enabled, and I'm going to reduce them down to 24 pixels. This we're having here on this icon, they are going to have a white color. I'm selecting everything together, I on keyboard, and I'll select a white color to give it. So for the stopwatch, I'm going to use this. For the countdown timer, I'm going to use this, and for counter, I'm going to use this. And mind you, these icons are not proper here. They are not proper. If you are using an icon, make sure you use a variant of icon. If you are using a field icon, let it be field icon. If you are using a line icon, which is going to outline, so use an outline icon. But I purposely use this icon so that I can show how to extract icon from picture file. So the height of this, and I'm going to take note of them. The height is 24. The height of this is 24, and the height of this is also 24. So I think this is okay. So I'm going to auto layout this to Shift A, so, and I make sure it sits right center and everything align vertically center with the frame. So Shift A, Shift A. So the space between them, this is 12 pixels. This is okay. This is 11 pixels. I'm going to take it to 12 pixels. This is 15 pixels. I will reduce it to 12 pixels. So the icons we are having here, we're going to reduce their color, the opacity of their color. We're going to take it down to 60 pixels. And also their right is not going to be like this. It's going to be 16 pixels. The X is going to be 16 pixels, and I'll make sure they sit vertically centered to the frame that contains them. Also, we need a button from inside this screen. Let me call this screen menu. So we're going to need a button here for back, so to go back from this screen. So I'm going to select one of these, or let me just Command C this, select this frame, and Command V so that it pastes to the normal place here. So I'm going to take it to this edge. So the icon we're having here is not going to be stop icon, so I'm going to draw another line just like this, and I will say this arrow should have a head, which is going to mean back. And I'm going to increase the thickness. The width of it, I'm going to reduce to 24 pixels, and I'm going to cut this Command X and replace what we have the Shift Command R. So we'll need to reduce the width to 18 pixels. Make sure it sits right center, and this should be a white color. It's going to be a white color, just like this. So this is signifying back, and also we are not going to leave this like this. We are supposed to have a kind of shadow around it so that it sits upon the screen, so that it won't disturb this. So it's going to be a kind of floating button. So I'm going to reduce this to 0 and then reduce the spread just like this. I think it's okay. So I'm going to hide the Grade Shift G from the keyboard. So this is our final design. This final design here. So the next thing is prototyping. So from this here, I'm going to tap on this menu icon. I'm going to draw a link from it to this menu screen, and I'll say on tap, navigate to this, and it should be instant. So having done that, I'm not going to draw connection from the rest of the screen. I'm just going to copy the one I drew from here, Command C, and select these two and replace them, Shift Command R to replace. So if I go back to prototype, they all have link. So from this, I want to go back. So I'm going to draw a link from it and refer back to this screen here and release it when it say back. So on tap, it goes back. So I think that is that. So we want to play our prototype and see how things look like. So I'm going to change this from tablet screen to our watch. So this is Apple Watch 45mm that we're using. So I'm going to select it. It has changed to it. So the next thing to do is to link this menu to other screens here. So I'm going to select the countdown timer and draw a link to the countdown. Also from counter, I'll draw to counter, and from stopwatch, I'll draw to stopwatch, just as you are seeing. And again, I want to reduce the size of this thing, so I'm going to select everything like this, press K on the keyboard, and I'll scale it down by holding down my Shift and Alt on the keyboard so that it scales down center. So just like this. And these names and the icon, I want to make sure they go up a little bit. This is what we have. Now let's go to the prototype and see what we have. So I'll click play on this here. So this is what we have. We are on countdown timer. If I press on menu, this menu comes out. If I press back, it goes back to countdown timer. If I press on menu, this comes out. I can go to counter. I can go to menu again, then select stopwatch. Can go to menu, go back. So the back button, the back interaction means whenever you press it, it's go back to the previous screen where you're coming from. So this brings us to the end of this design. Thank you for your time, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do that right away. I love you. Thank you so much.